So for my photo voice project, I chose to focus on something that is really personal to me and something that has really affected my life in more ways than one. I've struggled with what I would describe as more of like a generalized anxiety disorder for probably about 15 years. And I don't think that I ever realized that I had anxiety up until really recently. I can remember back being a teenager and kind of feeling sometimes like I had an elephant sitting on my chest and I would have to do like deep breathing exercises in order to kind of catch my breath, and I would feel really overwhelmed by that. But I always thought it was more of like a physical condition rather than something psychological that I was battling. And so it hasn't been up until probably like 5 years ago that I actually realized that maybe I was struggling with anxiety and that's what was affecting me. So this first picture is of my boys. We were having dinner at the Volada, and the road behind them is Goldstream Road, so a really busy road that people drive pretty quick down. And I really wanted to take a nice picture of them with the scenery in the background and really be able to capture their personalities. But as I'm taking these pictures, all that's kind of running through my mind is all of the potential dangers of taking this picture. So I kind of wrote that I can recall a time before anxiety took over my life. It looked a lot like how my kids look in this picture. I was really carefree and happy. I could dance, play, laugh, and enjoy life without the overwhelming worry and sense of doom overtaking my mind. So worry is something that I struggle with every day, and just really overwhelming worries about things that aren't really realistic. So when I look at this picture now, I think about, how close they are to the road. What if that car lost control and ran into them? What if there was a drunk driver and they came into the parking lot really quickly and they weren't able to stop or didn't see them? And I feel like anxiety really rules the way that I think about things. And it also affects the way that I interact with my family and my children. Because when I'm feeling anxiety or I'm worried about my children being hurt, for example, with this picture, then I'm really kind of harsh on them. Like, I really want them to stay close to me. I want them to listen to everything I'm saying right away. And I'm like reflecting that on them, that I need them to listen because, their lives are in danger, basically. And even when I think about it and talk about it and say it out loud and realize that maybe that's irrational, it's not, it's not really, it's more of the exception that someone would, lose control of their vehicle and hurt my children on accident. But to me, that is the reality. So anxiety really just reminds me not that things are going to be okay, but that things are not going to be okay. So that's how it affects me in that way. This is a picture of my alarm clocks on my phone. So something that I struggle with because of my anxiety is being able to remember things. So because my brain is always going 100 miles a minute worrying about deadlines and my to-do list for the day and all of the things that I need to do, and all of the things that are obviously going to go wrong that day, it's really sometimes hard for me to remember things that are important, like calling in for class, or when I'm talking with a client at work. Sometimes I find myself forgetting about everything that they said. Even after just having talked to them, I just forget everything they just said because my mind is so occupied thinking about everything else. And then this also impacts me because most nights I spend, at least 2 hours in bed tossing and turning. And so when I'm spending all this time at night, playing through every scenario that ever happened in that day, it can really keep me up late. So not only am I worrying about things that maybe are not that important, but I'm also thinking about all of the things that I did that day that were stupid. So I'm thinking about everything that I said, every interaction that I had, every comment that I made that maybe somebody perceived as me, not knowing what I was doing, being uneducated. So I'm worrying about the stupid things that I said. If I cracked a joke that maybe other people didn't think is funny, I'm worrying about people's perceptions of me, what they think of me, if they think I'm bad at my job, if I'm a bad mom, if I said something silly at school, all of these things every day process through my mind when I'm trying to go to sleep at night. And I'm so hyper focused on them that I can't relax. And then subsequently then in the morning, it's really hard for me to wake up. And I don't know if that's just because I'm finally getting this sense of rest and relaxation through sleep where I'm not really waking up or worrying about anything. And as soon as I wake up and my eyes open, it's back to the same. And then what usually happens is I don't get out of bed until, the last minute. And then I'm rushing and my kids are rushing, and it kind of perpetuates the cycle of anxiety throughout the day of always being in a rush, always being behind. And then it also reflects that onto my kids, who then are feeling like they're always rushed and behind and having to hurry. So this picture kind of demonstrates challenges with being plugged in or connected with people. So with this picture, like a lot of times I'm halfway plugged in. I'm not always there with them. So anxiety impacts my ability to interact with people around me and to connect with them. And unfortunately, sometimes my family and friends see this as a lack of desire or interest, or maybe that I'm rude or callous, or I use sarcasm to kind of cover up when I'm feeling uncomfortable. And it's not that way. It's my anxiety that gets in the way of my interacting with other people. So I just kind of provided an example here of my husband having invited people over for dinner, and the kids were jumping on the trampoline. And I was really disconnected from engaging with the people that were over visiting. And I always kind of use an excuse of like, oh, I'm just really tired, or, not feeling good today. I don't tell people I'm just having anxiety right now and I can't connect with you. That can be really hard to say. And in that moment, I was just really anxious there were so many people at the house, and then there were so many kids on the trampoline, and I was just sure someone was going to die. Like, that's just kind of the way that my mind goes. And it's really hard for me to enjoy that time with my family and friends and really be connected to them in the moment, because not only am I worried about what's happening right now, I'm also thinking about all the things that I need to do after they leave, or tomorrow, or whatever, or assignments I have to do, or cleaning that needs to get done around my house. I have a really hard time being in the moment with people. And a lot of times people see that as me not wanting to interact with them. So when I was thinking about this picture and kind of that concept, I was thinking about kind of like a systems theory, and how from the outside, the perception is that I have a really connected system. I have a lot of support and friends and family, but for me on the inside looking out, it doesn't always feel that way. And a lot of times it feels like I'm very isolated and that nobody really understands what my experience is. And it's hard for me to express that to them. So I was thinking about that theory and how when we look at it from a professional lens, it can be important to really kind of delve into that and see, rather than just asking those surface questions about their system or their support, really understanding what that looks like from their perception. So this is a picture of my Facebook account. So social media is a way that I know enables me to really check out from real life. So going back to kind of that conversation about the perception that people have of you. So social media really allows me and anybody to portray their life in any way they want, and even a life without anxiety. So a lot of times I will look at my own Facebook profile and see the things I've posted and really reflect on that and see, think about what other people might perceive that as, because I don't post or talk about challenges I have. I would say that's not common for most people. And a lot of times I'll spend way too much time just scrolling on social media as a way to disconnect from what's happening in reality. And so I post pictures of fun activities like swimming, hiking, fishing, four-wheeling, lots of other fun stuff that my family enjoys doing together, and everybody looks super happy. But what people don't know is that the person who's taking the pictures, which is usually me, is suffering a lot of anxiety, like at the swimming pool or things like that. It's just too much anxiety for me to handle. And I tend to be really overbearing with my kids and trying to keep them close and being safe and doing things that are probably too restrictive because I have these irrational thoughts happening. So I felt like this picture was really descriptive. Self-doubt is something that I really struggle with on a daily basis, in every area of my life. Even when I'm getting a lot of support or affirmations from other people around me, my colleagues, my supervisors, my family, my friends, it's for some reason my mind always tends to go to like, they're not being truthful with you. They don't really feel that way. They're only saying that because they don't want to make you feel bad. They're just trying to make you feel better. You're actually not doing a good job. You're actually not a good fit for this. You're not this. You're not that. So that can be really hard. And I was really thinking about in social work practice too, how that applies and just the things that we say to people and how they take them in, and how we may feel like what we're saying to someone is really helpful and we're trying to lift them up and build them up and make them recognize, all the support that they have or how much we care about them. And really, to some people, it doesn't come off that way. And even if they want to take it that way, it can feel really disingenuous just because of the way that somebody thinks about it. And I know that's the experience for me. So on this picture, I just, sometimes I feel like I'm trapped in my own mind. So my mind will start thinking about scenarios that are really scary, and it tends to spiral out of control. Like I have this reoccurring thought about my oldest son, who I've had this thought since he was born. I actually had a dream right before I had him that he fell over the balcony at the Fifth Avenue Mall, like 3 stories down, and he died. And now every time I go to Anchorage, my kids know they can't be too close to the edge. They have to hold someone's hand. And so again, like not only does my anxiety affect me in the way that I live my life, but it affects my family, and how they're able to live as well. So this is another example of a way that my anxiety kind of manifests in my own life. So something that helps me feel better is to clean my house. But it's become a compulsive habit where I can't not do it. And if I don't do it, my anxiety will get so out of control that I'll wake up in the middle of the night and start cleaning. So I have to do it every single night the same exact way. And what that means is that on weeknights, I spend very, very little time with my family, my husband and my children. And again, this affects my kids because if I've already cleaned the floor, like they can't be doing this or that or the other thing because I'm just so obsessive about how it needs to be and how it needs to look. And so I worry about how this kind of manifestation of anxiety in my own life is going to affect my kids in the long term. So this picture is kind of more about healing from anxiety and what that looks like for me, which is something that's really challenging. I've tried medication, tea, counseling, essential oils, all of those things. And people love to give suggestions about how to heal from anxiety. And for me, it's not that easy. It's a work in progress, definitely. And this is just another example of how I feel on a daily basis, of just feeling like I'm really empty, I'm exhausted, anxiety rules my life. It takes everything that I have most days. I think it gives me a lot of empathy for other people who are struggling with mental illness because I really understand what having a pervasive mental illness feels like and how it affects me and my family and the other people in my life. And this last picture is this mirror next to my door that I walk out that door every day to go to work. And, the picture that I see in the mirror of myself is not the way that I feel. So sometimes I look at myself and I see how successful I am. And other days I look at myself and I see myself as a complete failure. And I see someone who's overtaken by anxiety, and that's all that they can think about at all times. So I think that opening up the conversation about mental illness can be really beneficial and help to support people who are struggling every day.